So a couple of weeks ago, we posted a video of a very beautiful house on Bellamy Street. And since then, we've had a whole raft of offers. We've also had quite a lot of questions about the interior, about the design. So I thought it'd be a really good idea to do something new, to do a meet the owner, or in this case, the owner and the designer. Could you just quickly tell us about your work background and what it is you do?
I'm an interior designer, so I started off at a big company called Candy & Candy. Who,
Yes.
Big sort of 90s, noughties company, developers, and a great company to start working
Yeah,
at. And we
brand.
did sort of uber-end luxury houses. So I started there, I was there for 5 years, and then I joined a guy called Martin Kemp, who is the creative director there.
Not Spandau Ballet.
Not Spandau Ballet, not Spandau Ballet, but often confused. And he set up his own company, a little bit smaller than Candy, but similar type of project. And I worked with him as his creative director for 9 years. So long career.
Yeah.
And then 3 years ago, I made the decision to do my own thing. So I still do interiors, but a very broad spectrum of different types, and across the world, from New York, Caribbean, and here, happily, some projects here. So it's a micro company, and that's kind of the point of what I'm doing. Is it's very small, it's very personal, and it means I can get back into the detail and the design, which is what I love.
What would be your sort of typical job?
I mean, my typical one would be a London residential home, one that I'm doing at the moment that's on Regent's Park. It's one of my favourite projects because it's a Grade 1 listed house, but with modern extension. So a real challenge, but a beautiful kind of structure to work within. And a lovely client. That's always the same thing. I only work for lovely clients.
Oh, I only work for lovely clients, of course. As you talk about amazing clients, the big commercial project that you've recently completed was...
Yeah, it was the Hut in Antigua.
Which is my favourite restaurant in the world.
You've got to go if you haven't been. And there's another one on the Isle of Wight, which is where it started. So George and Matt they're brothers, they're friends of mine, and they started the Hut many years ago on the Isle of Wight, and it's a kind of rosé and lobster, the best place you can go, and it's then dancing on the table.
The closest thing you can do to being in the Med whilst not leaving the British Isles.
Whilst actually being in Colwell Bay.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been lucky enough to visit the new one on Little Jumbie in Antigua, and it is sensational. I couldn't believe how beautifully finished that design was, and to come back and find out it was you, I just, hats off. It was absolutely brilliant. And actually, if anyone is going to Antigua, you must stay with my friends at Blue Waters as well, because they're also brilliant. little name drop.
Absolutely.
Welcome to that one, Gary.
Yeah, so George was fabulous. Again, it's a very different type of project. It's when you're normally doing quite kind of highly polished, these kind of Uber houses for these, impossibly rich clients, you then go to the Hut where it's meant to be, it's intentionally rustic, and you're not meant to polish the corners, and you're meant to have that kind of rickety nature.
We're here to talk about this house. When you bought the house, I think you bought it through Rampton Baseley.
Yeah, we did, about 2019. It was 2 up, 2 down, with the bath kind of over there. So it was really, really very small. Yeah. I think it was 800 square foot. So in terms of Victorian workmen's cottages, it's on the micro scale. And we did literally knock the whole thing down. I mean, it sounds horrible saying that, but you kind of had to. We kept the facade, we added a window at the front, but really all the walls back from there we took out. And that enabled us then to totally reimagine the space and to kind of move stairs to where you want them to be.
I think it's the stair core that is really, it's obviously in the heart of the house, in the middle of the house. I think it's the thing that really changes the feel of this place.
It does, because you've got these very long, thin floor plans, and therefore you have no light in the middle of the house. And London houses are really the same, and funny enough, even the Regent's Park house is the same. You walk in through the front door, you've got a flight of stairs going up. And there's something about turning a flight of stairs that gives a kind of more of a reveal. It's kind of not showing everything at once.
Yeah.
But it also, by moving the stairs, turning them and putting them in the centre of the house, going across the house, we could then open it up to the skylights. So we could bring light, and we kept the stairs apart from each other, about 300 mil apart. So that light could come all the way through the stair and into the darkest heart of the house. So
on the ground floor. That's
a kind of a very simple thing that we did, but it's made a difference because it just means you kind of, you've got a feeling of space, because light is space.
You know, thinking about the list of questions that were posed to us, they all relate to light in some way. We've had questions about the paint colours and about how you shift from dark to light. We've had questions about the windows, where the suppliers were. There were also questions about door furniture and window furniture and stuff like that, which we'll get to hopefully have a look at. But a lot of it is about this sort of play with light, making and you know how that makes the space feel different.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people go for light, and you just put windows everywhere. And actually, I think sometimes it's about curating the light. So you don't just flood a space with light, but obviously you bring as much as you can in various places, but you curate it. But you can also have tricks where when you come into this kitchen, for example, there's a little kind of hallway, and then there's a little utility space off here. They're both dark, and that is intentional. You come from a light space, through a dark space, back into a light space. And it's that contrast that gives you a feeling of appreciating the light when you walk into it. So you almost need to deprive light to then give it.
Well, in its own way, that happens in this house twice on the ground floor. So you come through the relatively narrow entrance passage into that lovely sort of hallway with the staircase in it. Then you go through another space like that into this, you know, really spacious kitchen.
So I think the space is a big thing, and you're working within constraints. This house is not white, and therefore you're trying to maximise space wherever you can. You're putting cupboards in, you're doing all the things to get things out of the way. But actually, what can really give the impression of space is once you've done all that and you've made all your spaces super efficient, is to then give space away to nothing. That hallway is essentially nothing.
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury, and it's not big. I mean, come on, nothing in this house is big, but it gives a sense of space, and space is luxury, particularly if you don't use it. And so it gives an impression that this house has space, but cupboards too. I mean, getting everything out of the way is key. We've got 2 children and a dog.
Speaking as an estate agent, like built-in stuff, be it a bench seat with 2 shelves above it, or a beautifully crafted pedestal cabinet in a bathroom. People love it. They really love it, and they can appreciate the quality in this house for sure.
Also, because it doesn't get taken away when the person moves away. So unfortunately, all the money that you put into this goes to the next person, which is good, but that's probably why they like it.
Yeah, for sure. Should we have a look at the bits we've discussed?
Yeah, absolutely. Joel, we were talking about the kind of space, and one of the things we were quite keen to do was, so often in Victorian terraces, your doors are at 2 metres or 2.2, which is here, and you know we're not short, but that door is kind of here.
Well, you're not.
So, you're not either. These doors are really high. They're kind of, I think they were 2.4, and it makes a really big difference when you're transitioning through spaces. It just makes spaces feel. This is narrower because we had to fit in a utility and washing machines in there. This one we could be much more generous with. So this, again, it's a small thing, but I really like these doors because they're not the normal 4-panel doors. They're single, they're 2 panels up and below.
Yeah.
And again, it just gives you width. If you have loads of vertical lines on the door, it's making it feel kind of narrow, whereas this is kind of pushing out to the extremities. So that was made by Doors of Distinction. And it's a standard sort of design that they do, but obviously then to our dimensions.
Where's this door furniture? I love these door handles even. You've got these everywhere.
That's definitely my wife's influence. Yeah, they're very old school, and they're from a company called Broughton's of Leicester. But yeah, I should mention that my wife... Broughton's of Leicester, yeah.
Okay, you should get a discount now. This is what we were talking about here, this stair call.
Yeah, so actually, interestingly, the stairs used to go up here, in the middle of the house, but between 2 rooms. They were about this wide. I mean, you literally kind of almost had to go up sideways. And so we had to move them because it didn't work with the layout. So we then could position them wherever. So we kind of made this sort of well that goes all the way up. So your skylights at the top on a sunnier day do bring light down here.
Yes.
But even today, it's much lighter, and you're giving away space to do that. So it's always a kind of you've got to be confident in it to give that space away. But I think it helps with the centre of the house, and it just makes it feel kind of light and airy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the centre of the house is, I think, one of the key things.
It is.
Should we go up?
Yeah, let's go up. So we get lower in terms of the ceiling height, which is fine because they're bedrooms. But essentially, we had a kind of a total height of the house which we had to be within.
Yeah.
We dug down a little bit to give ourselves an extra foot, but then you're basically taking out a total height and you're dividing it by your number of floors, and then you're working out which one should have the most, obviously the ground floor, and then what's left over you divide between. And actually, I think bedrooms benefit sometimes from having the lower spaces, particularly the kind of children's rooms in here, which are
gorgeous.
They're just sweet little children's rooms, but that with a big ceiling height would feel a little bit obscure, a little bit strange.
Yeah, no, it would be out of proportion, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So that's it. It's a calculation of dividing up a space and giving the maximum where it's most important.
Yeah.
The other thing we did, which was a kind of very much a personal decision, was big bathroom. And I think it's how my wife and I love big bathrooms, and we thought, great for families. We didn't have a family at this stage, but fun place to bath the kids and then look over the garden. So, this in some people's minds would be a big bedroom, but for us, we just wanted to do a big bathroom.
I don't think someone who didn't have an interior architectural background would have thought to put the loo in its own enclosed little space behind the door as you walk in. There are some no-nos, like you shouldn't walk straight in and face the loo, should you?
No. Big shower.
I love this little vanity unit. That was really cute. Did you buy that off the shelf?
Yeah, it was off the shelf. Annoyingly, I can't remember who we bought it from, but it was not expensive. It's just about looking for things and knowing what you're looking for. We knew we wanted a curve because the most annoying thing when you're flowing through a space is whacking your hip on something. So if you are dealing with quite compressed spaces, take the corners off.
For sure.
So we know what we're looking for, and find it online. Again, so the tongue and groove was fun because it's wide. Normally tongue and groove is 180 mil, 180 mil.
This is routed.
It's routed, exactly. Yeah. So you can choose whatever width, but the wider makes it feel more kind of generous and a bit maybe more contemporary as well. Because
I agree.
I've got to mention the towel rail too, because that was a gift from my previous boss. So it was the wrong colour for his house, but it was the perfect colour for ours. So it was a wedding present, and it's honestly, I think, the best wedding present we received.
How many people get a towel rail for a wedding present? I'm sure you're really chuffed. It couldn't be more perfect.
I absolutely love it. So thank you, Martin.
Principal bedroom on the first floor at the back.
Yeah.
I've noticed people doing that loads and loads recently.
Well, it's a very quiet street anyway, so you don't need to do it for the street. But actually, the back is the bird noises, and it's so quiet. So it's that's kind of the rationale. Again, they're not big rooms, but they're hopefully exactly the right size for what we need, and loads of built-in joinery, So this is my one. Joe's is next door, and we went for this sort of rattan, which is quite good because it then allows air flow through into the wardrobe. So you're
very clever, isn't it? Love these cute little reading lights. That's very pleasing. Look at that.
Well, that means I can read at night without waking up my wife, in theory, but still gets complaints.
I wouldn't get away with that.
But the lamps, I'm going to do a shout out for my friend Hugo, who set up Bosco London, and we designed these lamps together, and they're made of horn. They're all just byproduct of the beef industry.
Wow.
But he takes the horn and he stacks it, and it's I love them. We designed them together. There's a couple more lamps in the house that we did together, and he's a very clever guy.
Really cool. this looks like it's been sort of made for that wall. I assume it wasn't.
No.
What is it?
It's a Japanese screen. It's not particularly old, but it's a great way of doing really big art without it costing you a fortune. So these screens...
That's been hand painted, probably.
It's been hand painted, yeah, and it's on silk, and it's a couple of, maybe 100 years old. But it's a great way of getting really big scale, and I think often with spaces, it's the big scale that you're wanting to get. But you were to go and buy a painting that's that size, and it would cost you a fortune, whereas these folding screens are really not expensive. And I like it. I mean,
I
it's
think
all personal
tonally,
taste, but
it goes so well in this room. But maybe you chose colours to go around that.
no, I think it came after actually. Okay. But again, I think we were talking about paint colours earlier, and I think there's personally I don't like white. I mean, everything is subjective, but for me, white is a kind of as a non-colour. And colour is being used to kind of create mood, and I think having a variation of mood in your house is nice, because you go into the room that reflects the mood that you want to have. And this room, none of these rooms are big. Again, it's not a big living room, but I think by creating a cosy atmosphere, you kind of embrace the size.
Oh, yeah.
But you also, this is something that I probably learned from my boss, but painting the ceilings the same colour as the walls is a really cool way of basically removing the horizontal. So you're not reading the ceiling now, you're reading just nothingness. So that increases the feeling of space. Likewise, skirtings, architraves, they're all the same colour. And it takes away those boundaries and makes you feel like you're in a bigger space than you are. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this fireplace, because this was cool. So this was, talk about difference in scale. This was the cornice in a house in Mayfair, in a bathroom. So a marble cornice that big and the stone guy who made it, a company called Stone Interiors, amazing company, they just had offcuts of this stuff. And I asked...
Put a couple of mitres in there.
A couple of mitres, and you have a fireplace, which is cool. So
it's a bespoke fireplace though, isn't it? It's absolutely, made to measure.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. Love it.
So there were a few things where we wanted to get things out of the way. So you've got your washing machine and dryer in there and all of your laundry. But then also, kitchens are generally, you've got a lot of stuff going on. So trying to get it out of the way is what we tried to do here. So you've got a kind of a niche area, sort of, I don't know what you call it, a pantry.
Yeah.
Into which you can put, there's all the baby stuff, there's the coffee machine, there's the microwave. So that's all hidden. And again, it's a dark space because you're kind of making symmetry on this side, but also you're not really wanting to show off everything that's in there. So dark is maybe better.
Someone did ask where this kitchen is from.
The kitchen's from a company called British Standard, who were part of Plain English. Plain English are the most sublime kitchens.
Yeah.
And they did this line as a kind of, you build it yourself, Plain English kitchen.
Paint it yourself, build it yourself.
You painted it yourself. You basically bought the components from Plain English and then did all the design work yourself. They've now brought that in-house with it's all under the Plain English. But what's really nice about them is that they're all timber carcasses. So it's very spoiling. It's very hard to go back to your rattly kind of other brands because these are just solid. I'll be very sad to leave these behind. And all of the joints here are dovetail joints, and that for a kind of for a kitchen is a really nice stuff full of stuff, obviously.
Gorgeous, and that antique mirror splashback.
So trying to make more space, mirroring is a very normal way of trying to an old trick of bouncing light and creating an impression of more space beyond when there's none.
Good. Well, listen, I feel like I've learned a hell of a lot. I nearly said something else then. I really have, honestly. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you very much. I have too, and thank you for entertaining me.
Thanks for having us.